Rudy, let me start off with the Galland report. We're going to be hearing about this for a while, but I think a lot of people are kind of scoffing at the reaction by the CAC, suggesting, they're going to go after and then there'll be a price to pay, and I don't know, heads will roll at the SAC. What do you make of all this?
Yes, it's a bit of a lot of posturing because it's not that easy for the government to lay charges, to sue former administrators of the SAC. And what are they going to do? They're going to go after their home. It's a very difficult thing only just to prove that there have been some wrongdoing. Yes, the report is very damning in terms of, yes, former heads of the SAAQ did lie, and the word lie was used by the commissioner to the government, didn't provide the correct information, but it's going to be very difficult for the government to go after them and basically go after the money because obviously the money went also to those big corporations because the contract wasn't made properly. So it was a response in a way, kind of a crisis management. But the reality is that the government is still very much on the defensive. Today, during question period, there were a lot of questions from the opposition, not taking the version from the government that they only learn about that $1 billion or cost of that program only in 2025. Because when you look at the report, it's stated that as early as summer 2023, there was correct information that was given, for example, to Geneviève Guilbeault, who was transport minister at the time. So there's still a lot of attack on the government, not buying the fact that they didn't know about it, that they didn't make it public, and their version that they only learn about it with the report in 2025.
So look, I'm not saying that no one's going to pay a price here. I imagine someone within the party is going to have to do something. Otherwise, people will go, well, you promised you do something. What do you think will happen here?
But I mean, the important thing is, what I'm afraid of is I'm sure this is not the only contract that we're having difficulties. As you know, there's a lot of ongoing contracts, for example, in the health sector. So I think what is important is that the government really look at all the contracts and especially, do we have the skills inside the government to being able to negotiate or even to see if we're buying the right program, the right software? Because that's the problem. The Galland Commission said that, for example, they didn't have the skills, they didn't have the knowledge, and even perhaps at the very early stage, didn't pick up the right software. So the question now is it happening and also in other departments? Because look what's happening in Ottawa right now. In Ottawa, there's also a problem which Canadians, more than 85,000 Canadians are not receiving their pension exactly because the software is not also working in Ottawa. So I think it's an ongoing problem that the government needs to fix in terms of attracting and retaining those people who have the skills and knowledge, because right now what we learn, and one of the lessons learned from that report, is that we don't know how to manage those big contracts or even to see if whatever the private companies are proposing are the right softwares.
All right, let me move on to talk about the other story today. I can't believe we're still talking about this, but CAC leadership candidate Christine Frechette, and we're still talking about the third line in Quebec City. Now she's sort of changed her mind. What's going on here?
Yes, so it was an important announcement. It was something that we were waiting for. Is Christine Frechette for or against the third link? So her answer is kind of yes, she is for it, but
no.
She would want to have another one, which is not the one that is for the moment has been put forward, that she wants it to be a public-private partnership, and that she will ask also the private sector to look at it. So what is happening right now, it's kind of a yes, but it's actually a no. And that's what Bernard Drinville, her opponent, is saying. But yes, I totally agree with you, Aaron. It's always the same thing in terms of, we're talking about politicians and they're talking about bridges and being engineers. At the end of the day, there was already a report made by the Caisse de dépôt saying that there's not a need for a third link when it comes to Quebec, but still it becomes now an issue in this race and perhaps, again, an issue during the next election. Even some people are saying it's going to be a bridge that is going to be bigger or larger than the Golden Gate. So there's a lot of conversation about it. But again, yes, the third link is one issue today in the CAC race. But Christine Frechette made the announcement. She's proposing other things, for example, improve the current bridge in Quebec, the Quebec City Bridge, making sure that trucks can go on it. For the moment, it's not the trucks cannot go on the bridge. But again, it's an ongoing issue inside the CAQ, because don't forget, François Legault said that everybody in the CAQ was for the third link, but today you can see that Christine Frechette is taking a distance when it comes to the third link.
Yeah, let's hope maybe one of the two of them, Frechette or Dranville, can talk about, healthcare perhaps in the next couple of days. All right. Last thing I want to bring up, major announcement from the Canadian government earlier today. We had Melanie Joly in studio earlier explaining this. Canada's first ever defense industrial strategy.
It's not actually true, because when I was in the government, under the Harper government, we did have a defense strategy. We actually had a Jenkins report that was tabled in 2013 that actually said that we need to export more when it comes to the defense sector. Actually, when I was in government, we did sign a $14 billion contract to Saudi Arabia to sell some light armored vehicle, because exactly that, we need to have a strong manufacturing capacity, not only for our armed forces, because what the problem is that sometimes we don't order as much as we need, and we need to export. So I do believe that today the strategy is good. It's exactly what was written in the report in 2013. The problem it was that it was stable for 10 years, but now the fact that Canada did commit to 2% of their defense spending, now the reality is that we need to make sure that the money goes into Canadian companies, but also that we do export, because otherwise we're not going to be able to maintain those capacities in Canada, especially, for example, Bombardier or CAE and other companies. We actually need to be strong when it comes to manufacturing capacity in the defense sector, but also being able to export. This is the exact same thing that France and Germany and other countries have been doing for a long time.
All right, I guess we'll leave it at that. But it's funny, because when I asked Melanie Joly that, I said I had no idea. But she said, first ever defense industrial strategy. And you're saying this existed before. Was it of a different kind? Is it not?
No,
obviously
that's how we built those frigates for example, the building in Halifax and Seaspan in Vancouver and all. When it comes to the Navy, that was exactly that. It was a defense strategy, making sure that those boats were made in Canada, for example.
Okay. Rudy, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years.
And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.